I have never been a fan of Puff Daddy at all. At all. It was just something about him. I just wasn't feeling him. My girlfriend and I, we used to laugh at him. His mouth, it never closed. It seemed to always be hanging open, and he always was breathing over everyone's songs. That's what we would say about him. I just didn't like him. I never did. It was nothing sexually appealing about him. It just was nothing. He just looked like your average guy, I guess you could say. He just didn't stand out. It was nothing like charismatic about him, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I'm here to give my 2 cents about the story like everybody else because I'm following like everybody else. And we are just waiting to see how this is going to all play out. Will it all play out? This is my era. The era of the best rap music ever. I kid you not. Over 30 years ago. Damn. 30 years ago. And unfortunately, I was there, so to speak, to witness the demise of Pac and the notorious B.I.G., Christopher Wallace, and Tupac Shakur. Yes, the East Coast, West Coast BS, because that's exactly what it is. It was BS. And we would later find out that Puffy, he was behind the entire situation. And I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it back then because Pac was from East Harlem. He was. So I'm like, why is he repping the West Coast when he's from the East Coast? It just didn't make any sense at the time. And just a side note, in case you guys didn't know it, Lassane Parish Crooks, that was Tupac's original name before it would be changed a year later after he was born. So yeah, that was his born name. That was his born name. And it was, of course, later turned to Tupac Amari Shakur. Just in case some of you didn't know that. And by now, you should know that Pac was a New Yorker. But he got around, like he said in his song. He definitely got around. When I think of it now, it just sounds so stupid when people used to say, okay, which one? Biggie Smalls or Tupac? Like you had to pick. I didn't get it. Like you had to pick. I would always say, and I will say then what I say now, I would say Big was for the music, but Pac was for everything else because Pac was fine. We all know that Pac was fine. All the ladies know that Pac was most definitely fine, but both their music was banging. It just really was. Biggie, to me, was more of a party. You wanted to get up. You wanted to dance. It was just jumping. It was always, the music was just screaming. You just had to dance to a Biggie Small song. Pac, I guess some of his music, even the earlier ones to even the more later ones, you sat back and you listened to it. It was like thinking music. Some of those songs that come on, you couldn't dance to. You can't dance to Brenda Got a Baby. You couldn't dance to Dear Mama. It was songs that made you think. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. They had different types of music, but they were supposed to. They were most definitely supposed to. Both, once again, talented artists, most definitely. Aside from Pac's music, because Pac wasn't part of Bad Boy, Puff brought a lot of talented people to the music industry. Craig Mack, Faith Evans, Mace, Total, The Lox, Shine, Mario Winans, 112, Black Rob. I mean, I rocked with them all back then, and I still do because their songs are classic. Definitely, their songs are classic. Now, I don't know if this is fact right here, but I actually think it is. It's something that I heard years ago. One of my favorite songs by Craig Mack and Biggie Smalls was the remix of Flavor in Your Ear. And I remember I heard that the LL Cool J part of the song was supposed to actually be done by Tupac. Now, I don't know how true that is, but that's what I heard back then. And I didn't even go ahead and bother to even research that, because that's just what I heard back then, that was supposed to be, that little part by LL was supposed to be a part by Tupac. And of course, it would have been very different, but it was supposed to be, but no, obviously it didn't happen. So I can't deny Puff was responsible again for bringing some talented people to the radio. But what else is Sean Combs responsible for? I mean, we know he has been physically abusive to, the women that he was romantically involved with. Well, a few of them have came forward and publicly said that Puff had put hands on them, and of course later on that they would recant what they said, but they actually said it out their own mouths. And footage like that just doesn't go away. And we also know that he had put hands on Kim Porter. We know that too, through people that was close to her, saying that she had went through these kind of DVs involving Puffy and herself. And we see it right there in living color. Cassie, his music artist on his label, also girlfriend / sex worker, he abused her right there on video. And it's not a secret anymore what he did. We also would later find out that several other men are claiming to be sex workers too. And 2 of them we know definitely are. Now, I'm listening and I'm watching the news, and I'm also looking at several other YouTubers just to see what everyone's talking about following this story. I can't follow it like this. It's too much. It's a lot going on. It's too much to cover. I'm following it just like everybody else. And I hate the fact that the story is already horrific, horrible, and sordid, but you got people that are adding lies into it. Like, we don't need those lies. We don't. He has enough going on in his life where we don't need additional lies. We don't. Trust me. His story by itself is going to be enough. It really is. I heard this morning on the news that Puff, Sean Combs, has over 120 victims. Now, there could be more, but 25 of them are children, underage at the time, and the youngest was a 9-year-old boy. This is what I heard on the news. I mean, it's there. It's right there on the news. You could easily watch it. Press conferences that are being held. But we know that Puff didn't do this all by himself. There are big names, and we cannot wait until they finally reveal these big names. I mean, will they ever reveal these big names, right? Will they ever? Will they ever? Now, a couple days ago, I put this picture up on my community chat. It was of Sean Combs and Jeffrey Epstein. It is not AI, as one of my Facebook friends thought it was. It is not AI. This is actually how Jeffrey Epstein looks. And this is actually how Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, this is how they look. They have a very similar face. They definitely do really favor one another. And we will find out later in more ways than one. Just 2 wealthy pigs. Now remember, Jeffrey Epstein was supposed to bring down famous people and royalty. I mean, he was really supposed to do this. The same thing was going on with him. The big names, who's on this list? Jeffrey's about to spill it all. He's about to tell everything. So many people are going down. And then he conveniently offs himself. That's right. Conveniently, he just offs himself and he takes all the secrets that he wanted to say with him. If you believe that. I mean, seriously, he was on S Watch And somehow he managed to off himself. That's what he managed to do. Now the question is, will Sean Combs have the same fate? I mean, we have detectives, police officers, we have people in high positions, all for some reason stepping down. When Puff was arrested, within like 2 or 3 days, people just started stepping down, deleting pages, making plane tickets. People started to really put their ducks in a row, so to speak. Why? Why? So again, I'm following these news programs, these gossip channels, and I'm remembering all the gossip and the rumors I heard 30 years ago. So if everything that I'm hearing through the news and through YouTube creators and through things that I know that was said decades ago, this has to be his fate. It has to be.